I'm with the Pima County Department of Environmental Quality. And the others on are Scott DeBias, Hannah Oden, Dustin Fitzpatrick, Jessica Rodriguez, Michael Catanzaro, Kimberly Baeza, Eric Lato, other PAG people, Becca Kamek, Brianne Hoishman, Christina McVie, Alexander Chavez, Barbara Johnson, Mead Meyer, Nathan Lothrop, Courtney Kaufman, Howard Myers, Katie Predick, Paula Bloomer. And if those of you who have phone numbers, if you want to unmute and introduce yourselves, please go ahead and do that. You are. Okay.
Hi, this is Molly Leba with the City of South Tucson. I was just saying hi.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right. So we will go to agenda item number 2, which is the in-kind form, and Hannah's gonna read that for us.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Let me move my screen around. Yes, regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. PAC collects data on the time dedicated to meetings and activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. So if you are paid with federal dollars, please let us know now. All right, hearing none. Time spent in preparation for this meeting will be estimated by PAG staff who are knowledgeable of the agenda and meeting materials. At the conclusion of this meeting, the session report will automatically calculate your time spent in this meeting. Time spent working on PAG and RTA initiatives, programs, and special projects may also be eligible for consideration for matching funds. And I will just say real quick, a little unrelated, if anyone is watching on YouTube and feel like you should have received a link to participate as a panelist, feel free to email me, hoden@pagregion.com, and I'll get that right over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. We'll go on to agenda item number 3, which is approval of the June 2nd EPAC meeting summary. Hopefully you all had a chance to review that summary. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting summary?
So I'll make the motion.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we will go ahead and approve the June 2nd EPAC meeting summary.
And Madam Chair, sorry, who was the second? Was that Jessica Rodriguez?
Yes, it was.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, which is the federal grant for compressed natural gas buses. We're going to have a couple people from the city of Tucson. Eric Lato has been the transit services coordinator for the city of Tucson since 2021. His initial focus was transit infrastructure projects throughout the city, including the alternative fuel study for the transit fleet. He's currently the contract compliance and safety officer for the transit division. And prior to his employment with the city of Tucson, he spent 25 years working in local governments in California, Tennessee, and Arizona. And he also spent time in the alternative fuel industry, educating large commercial fleets in alternatives to diesel fuel. We will also have Michael Catanzaro speaking, and he is the energy manager for the city of Tucson, and he has been since 2018. His primary focus is working on the installation of more than 16 megawatts, more than 45,000 panels of solar across the city of Tucson facilities and the development of citywide green revolving fund. He works closely on the implementation of the EV readiness roadmap and the implementation of the climate action and adaptation plan. Previously, he was the first director of sustainability for the University of San Diego, where he helped the university achieve an energy consumption reduction of more than 28%, water consumption reduction of more than 30%, and carbon emissions reductions of 15%. This work led to a top 10 ranking in 2017 for U.S. university sustainability programs. So go ahead and take it away, Eric and Michael.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? I can hear you.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having Michael and I. It's great to be here and appreciate all Hannah's efforts in getting us up to speed. We practiced this. I'm supposed to have control of the slides. Here we go. So, yeah, we were really fortunate. We have wonderful partners in the FTA who have just been invaluable in working with us to get both of these grants. The first of the one, which was awarded to us last year, was actually for electric infrastructure. And we received 10 of the 40-foot buses. Those are the big buses you see on the streets. And we've had a real learning curve with those. We were really the first city to get those large 40-foot buses and put them into play. And the other cities have been taking notes. I'm a Arizona Transit Association board member, and all the other cities ask, hey, how's the electric buses going? I said, well, okay, this is happening. So I reported our meetings, and the city of Phoenix just put in their first order for 5 buses after they've taken notes of all of our, when you're on the cutting edge, you tend to bleed a lot. So now that we've had all the blood loss on those, they're ready to go ahead and order. And some of the issues we had were, the chargers were charging on peak. And so poor Michael was having to, the electrical vehicle rate we have with Tucson Electric Power, our costs were sky high. So I think he negotiated 3 different rates before we got the cost down, because we couldn't get the chargers to work. And the SunTrans staff were just amazing, working with Siemens over a 9-month period to finally get the chargers in play. So that's just a quick little overview of our adventure with those 10 buses. And we are going to order another 10, which will then have us maxed out for our current electrical infrastructure at our site. We have to do a massive upgrade of our infrastructure that TEP will charge us if we want to go past that 20 mark of buses. So the second bullet there, you can see we've got some cutaways that will be serving our Dial Ride service. And then PAG's got 2 cutaways for the Sabino Canyon Run. So that's been a real, like I said, learning curve for us, but we were happy to do that for the region and of course for the state. So yeah, we're learning together and slowly becoming experts. As you can see, the most recent grant was a big one, real big. And we're going to be off diesel completely once this comes through. We have a pretty big CNG fleet now. And when this order comes in, we won't have any diesel buses left. So we are excited, to say the least. All right, we can go to the next slide. I'll let Michael run with that one.
Great, thanks, Eric. So this is our electric vehicle readiness roadmap. You can see this was adopted in 2022, kind of reaffirmed in, we proposed it in 21, adopted in 22, and 23 we developed our green fleet policy. And you can just see on here at a high level from the strike throughs, the progress we've made so far. We are, actively pursuing electrification of the city's light duty fleet. I'm right now working on installing EV chargers across city locations. And so the city's really making a concerted effort and push towards this. And one of the important things for me as an energy manager, and honestly, I don't know that this is a thing, but as a carbon accountant, which is like what you have to do when you're talking about greenhouse gas emissions, is understand the impact. So I put together a few slides to, I think, demonstrate that clearly for everybody here. On the next slide, you'll see a bus comparison of diesel, CNG, and electric. So this information is all based on emissions data taken from Atlas public policy data. we've now switched to GREET for the region, and that's a best practice. And hats off to Dustin for those changes within the inventory. But you can see here, total cost of ownership is really just the fuel and the purchase price. That doesn't include service, which we left out. And then you can see the relative costs, fuel per mile, the lifetime emissions of each bus. And then something that I think is really important is the last part here is the cost per metric ton of carbon dioxide reduced. So you can see in the CNG, and this is versus diesel. I'm not sure if you can see my pointer, but the middle column, the CNG, there's a savings of $1,473 for every metric ton of carbon dioxide removed, according to the Atlas public policy data, and then the cost to run the bus. That's a premium of 9,000, of almost 10,000 when you look at electric versus CNG. So the cost for reduction far exceeds what the cost would be to actually actively remove the carbon dioxide from the air. So that's like an important metric when you're, I think, for me, in determining what are the first order of magnitude intentions and costs to reduce, so that you can kind of front load savings projects with carbon reductions. And I think this is made even more clear in the next graphic, which is this is the fuel cost per mile of the different vehicle types, and then the average emissions per mile on the various fuel types. And these were the 10-year assumptions that we used. And then as we unrolled the program, as Eric referred to, we actually had this huge problem with our electric, because the level 3 chargers we had, we couldn't control the time of use. Like when they plugged in, they started charging. And so we got hit with massive demand charges from TEP. Hats off to TEP. They worked with us quickly and diligently to get us on the right rate plan. But we were paying nearly $1.75 per mile to operate the electric buses in the first couple months, because we couldn't control the time of use that they were charging. And so it's just, from an energy manager perspective, it creates issues because you have a low load factor, which creates like a high bill because you have a big demand charge, but you're using a lot of energy to charge these buses for a relatively short period of time, and then nothing. And so that really drives prices up. And then these are the emissions per mile of the various fuel types. And you see that the electric today was dirtier than the CNG buses. So because of the quality of the grid. So we did an analysis, and on this next slide, you'll see this GREET data, which is a little bit, actually considerably different than the previous slides from Atlas public policy data. You'll notice that the diesel emissions are relatively close to the CNG emissions, and we're still kind of unpacking that because it doesn't ring true for the chemistry of it and for any of the previous models. So we've reached out to Argonne National Laboratories, who I think is behind the GREET model, to get a little bit of clarity. But you'll look in the middle, you'll see the vehicle for RNG, which is what we currently are running our buses off of. And the emissions are pretty extraordinary. And we understand that to be true because of the negative value of renewable natural gas. So because we're taking it out of in the future, it will be out of hopefully Los Reales landfill. We'll be using it there because of the value of flaring it versus because of the value of using it productively, cleaning it and putting it in our fleet. Versus flaring it, it has that sort of negative carbon value. So you can see in this model from GREET that it's actually cleaner in a wells to wheels carbon analysis than even an electricity mix with 100% renewable electricity. So we're using this data to sort of first as quickly as possible, is what Eric was talking about, get off diesel because of the significant emissions, but then also take into account the limitations of electric currently for our fleet and in our routes, and try to reduce emissions as quickly as possible. So well, I think we're both open to questions, and I think this may be something folks want to talk through. So looking forward to talking through it and answering any questions you all have.
And I just wanted to jump into the slide Michael had on the costs of ownership. We learned something from the FTA. You know, the electric bus is roughly $1 million per bus purchase price, and the CNG bus is about $550. And what we learned is that you cannot increase your fleet by fuel choice. So, you know, what the FTA allows us for our fleet size, we can't say, well, we need more money now because we're using a more expensive propulsion. So we assume electric's going to come down over time, but the electric bus, you know, you go from 550 to $1 million, and the runtime on the CNG or diesel is about 22 hours, and the runtime on the electric is 10 hours. So there's some real math problems to solve there, because again, you can't just double your budget because you're using a different fuel source. So that was really of great interest to us, because we don't want to be in the business of cutting our fleet size unless we're going to fund it out of the general fund, which is a whole different discussion.
Mhm.
Charles, you had a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, guys, thank you. That was very interesting. I'm a consultant and I work in the renewable natural gas industry. So I know what goes on in California, and we're kind of a minuscule player in there. Our Tres Rios wastewater treatment plant produces renewable natural gas, and with Southwest Gas, they pipe that gas over to California for the high RINs number income. Apparently, they make some pretty good money. Do we have any, besides the Los Reales landfill, is there any incentive or any move to get more renewable natural gas in the state of Arizona? It would be, the one thing you don't see is much is compressed, CRNG, compressed RNG. That would be a real blessing for some players like our copper mines, and because they're desperately trying to reduce their emissions. They're very diesel intensive. So I just wanted to put that out there. But thank you. This was a very interesting presentation.
Yeah, so we've been working on this landfill gas project at Los Reales, but as we've been doing that, there's a lot of activity within the state and outside developers trying to bring renewable natural gas projects to the state. I know Phoenix has done a few things with their wastewater treatment plant. I believe Pima County has also just installed some renewable natural gas capabilities for the sewage treatment plant. So it's absolutely a growing field and industry. So I think we'll see a lot more of it in the coming years.
Yeah, and Charles, I know the mining industry is extremely interested in switching those mine haul trucks to natural gas. I used to call on them up in Minnesota, up in the what's they call the Mesabi Range, I think. So yeah, that they use about 10,000 gallons of diesel per day in their operations, and because of their remoteness, they're probably better set up for like an LNG type operation where they truck it in, just because there's no pipelines in where they have those mines. But yeah, I know that industry is looking at it because the whole issue with mining is so contentious to begin with, and it will probably become more so as we start to mine for cobalt and lithium to pursue our EV strategy. So thank you.
Becca?
Yeah, thank you. Let me put my camera on here. So I'm the sustainability manager over at the Tucson Airport Authority, and we're pretty early in our, stages of understanding how to upgrade our own infrastructure for EV. And we have a definite demand, a definite need, in all sorts of sectors of our business at the airport. So I was curious, we are also trying to work with TEP to understand what our load is that we're going to be adding to the system, which is going to help them tell us what our upgrades need to look like. How are you all at the city forecasting your load, the load that you need to tell TEP you're going to be adding, so you can understand how to upgrade your infrastructure?
Awesome question. Nice to meet you.
Yes.
We're working really closely with TEP. I mean, they are privy to all the data I have in terms of what's being replaced, what's scheduled to be replaced. Like Eric said earlier, it's a huge lift charging these buses. The electrical service required is really significant. So I think that it would be wise for entities, the city, county, U of A, the airport, to even work together with TEP to say, when we go to electrification, and we're going right now, how do we do that? How do we reduce the impact on the grid, and the overall costs? And, do we have sort of centralized yards we share? It's probably a different model, because you're taking a vehicle that, in some cases took 5-10 minutes to fill up a tank, to, in some cases several hours, up to 8 to sort of fill, depending on the speed of the charger and the total battery. So you're really talking about whole new challenges for the grid. And so you want to do it hand in hand with TEP, so you know what is available. And so we're modeling out just our replacement schedule for vehicles, and then determining what the batteries would be. So, and then what the loads would be and what the impacts to each area. And the city has, hundreds of facilities that vehicles currently park at. So it's a real change in operations for us as well. So it's not easy, super hard, but I think it's something we regionally should be working on together.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Justin?
Thanks, Natalie. Hi, Michael. Hi, Eric. Great presentation and comparison of the different fuel types. I'm curious about the renewable natural gas out of Los Reales, if analysis has been done of the volume and how much of the bus fleet that could support using CNG. And then also Chuck had mentioned Tres Rios getting those renewable energy credits for utilizing that methane. And has there been a analysis of the economic, potential out of selling those RECs?
Yeah, it's actually the RINs that are generated through it that drive the value. Those are renewable identification numbers, and that's something that it's a program the federal government has for the renewable fuel standard, and that's what kind of drives the value. And then you also have LCFS credits in California, which add another little bit of money in terms of value of the environmental attribute. So to get back to the question though, in terms of has analysis been done at the landfill, it has, and we can support with the methane generated at the landfill. We can easily support the entire waste and bus fleet and still have about 2/3 of that gas left to sell to open market to drive other renewable gas, other renewable natural gas uses. So there's a lot of energy there in that landfill, and it's because of our heat and our lack of moisture, that landfill is going to continue to generate that for the next 50 years. When you look at the models of that generation. So it's a huge opportunity and something I feel lucky that I'm here at the time when we're doing it.
It's a real gold mine. You think
Yeah,
about
it's
all the supply
impressive.
chain issues with getting, batteries from China, which pretty much has complete hegemony on that with all the cobalt lithium they've locked up in Africa, by having this RNG in our backyard, we've got our own little energy supply right here. It almost seems too good to be true, but it's there. So it's really exciting.
I love the idea of taking greenhouse gases and powering buses with it. It's fantastic. So hopefully we can get there. Mead?
Thank you. This is Mead Meyer from PAG. I wanted to say, first of all, it's great that you're sharing your lessons learned with everyone. That's so valuable. And that you're sharing with Tucson Airport Authority today. My question was sort of, are you coupling efforts with, is there any effort to have the city have its own solar? Maybe this is already being done, so I'm sorry for the lack of awareness on my part, but since there are so many fleets plus buses that the city owns, how do you couple your efforts with solar energy?
No, great question. It's one of the only, it's the biggest accomplishment that we've had since I've been here is we've installed 16 megawatts, and that's like 40,000 panels across different city facilities. And what we also did when we installed that solar was we ran conduit for electric vehicle chargers and virtually all of those projects. So we do have the infrastructure in place to quickly electrify, and that's in public spaces and parks, as well as like in our fleet yards where we're starting to install electric vehicle chargers. So it really is sort of a portfolio of options. And so, we really want to make sure that the electric fleet we do have is powered by renewable energy. And so, it's absolutely linked. So great question. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to continue to increase the solar. And we have about 10 more projects on the books with another 5 to 10 megawatts. So, we're kind of going nuts on it. And it's a huge percentage so far. We're up over 25% renewable energy for the city, just in terms of our own generation. So it's great.
Charles?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Charles.
Struggling. Hi, Michael, and let's see. I would like to know, is there a contact person I could speak to about the Los Reales landfill? I'd like to get some more information. I've worked with the Argonne GREET model in the past, and I've worked with dairy farms that are producing high RINs, RNG, and that's something that's going to be coming to this state as well, I believe. And for the folks, what we do is we take biogas from anaerobic digestion processes, whether it's a sewage treatment plant or it's a manure digester or a landfill, basically chemically the same. We peel off the carbon dioxide portion. We produce pipeline quality natural gas, which is called renewable natural gas. And since it's generated from organic waste, theoretically, it displaces fossil natural gas. And so it has a very positive effect on our carbon budget, if you will. Michael, who would I speak to about Los Reales? Is there, would you be the person, or?
You can certainly start with me. I'll get your information from either Hannah or Natalie.
Okay.
That's me asking. And I can connect with, I don't think we put our contact information on the next slide, which we should have done, but and then if I can't answer your questions, I can connect you with Frank Bonias, who's the administrator there.
Okay. And you're with City of Tucson, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm just, my email is michael.catanzaro@tucsonaz.gov. If you want to just
Tucson.az. Nah, that's
just Tucson AZ.
that's
No dot
pretty.
between
That's
Tucson
pretty.
and
That's
AZ.
pretty straightforward, Michael. Thank you. That's all. Thanks,
No,
guys.
no dot between Tucson and AZ. It's just TucsonAZ.gov.
TucsonAZ.gov. Okay, no dot between the Tucson AZ.
Right.
Excellent. Okay, thanks. A very, very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Howard, sorry, your hand wasn't, you weren't popping to the top for me, so I didn't see you. So go ahead.
Yes, Howard Myers here. Define the difference between CNG and RNG, please.
I apologize. Shame on us. CNG is compressed natural gas. That's just natural gas that is mined and gotten through like traditional means.
It's what
RNG
you boil your water with, basically.
Yeah.
You have in your house. Yeah.
And RNG is renewable natural gas, and that comes from the sort like dairy farms, from methane generation at landfills. It's their sort of ongoing, naturally occurring sources that are regenerative too. And we should absolutely add that to all the presentations we do, Eric.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Because yeah, shame on us.
That's a great point. Thank you.
We're also used to our acronyms. It happens. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? Howard, you still have your hand up. Did you have any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
Great. Well, that was very informative. Thank you for bringing that information to us. And as things progress, we will have you back and share with us. So thank you. All right, we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is the regional greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And we're going to have Dustin Fitzpatrick provide a summary of the update to the emissions inventory. This will be an item for a vote.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm going to be presenting on PAG's regional greenhouse gas inventory that covers the years 2016 to 2021 for the greater Tucson region. So this has been a biennial report produced by PAG with the previous inventory covering the period 2014 to 2019. So we're essentially dropping off 2014-15, adding in 2020-21. Data was collected from various entities, which included the local utility companies servicing our region, TEP, Trico, Tohono O'odham Utility Authority, Southwest Gas. We collect data from EPA greenhouse reporting, Union Pacific, Tucson Airport Authority, Davis-Monthan, ADOT for the HERF reported fuel sales, Central Arizona Project, and the Pima County and City of Tucson staff, including Sandra Rosales and Michael Catanzaro. So the preliminary report findings were presented to EPAC at the June 2nd meeting. And then the draft report was distributed to EPAC and AQS members and the data contacts in the beginning of September, and review comments were requested. The draft report was presented to the Air Quality Subcommittee for technical review at the September 12th meeting. And then comments were incorporated into the final report draft and distributed to EPAC members at the end of September with the track changes provided. There were some minor changes that were made, specifically for the CAP electricity emission factors for 2020 and 2021, and then the Pima County wastewater emissions from the Green Valley Lagoon system for 2017 to 2021. And those resulted in slight changes to the county government and city and county community inventories. So the final report is included with the materials for this meeting and will be requested for approval as an action item. So the inventory area is Eastern Pima County, also referred to as the Greater Tucson region. Includes the eastern portion of the Tohono O'odham Nation, along with the other 7 PAG jurisdictional members, and includes 99% of the population of Pima County. So the main inventory is the Eastern Pima County community, and that contains subset inventories for the Pima County government and the City of Tucson community. And within the City of Tucson community, a subset is the City of Tucson government. All right, so this is the bar graph for the Eastern Pima County community emissions. It shows both the total greenhouse gas emissions for the inventory from 2016 to 2021 and the per capita emissions over that same period. So you see the overall emissions declined from around 14.4 million metric tons in 2016 down to 12.1 million in 2021. Which is a drop of nearly 2.3 million metric tons, or almost 16%. So the per capita emissions also dropped from 14.35 metric tons per person in 2016 to 11.58 metric tons in 2021, for a drop of nearly 3 metric tons per person per year, or around 19% over the period. And notice the largest emissions decrease came in 2020 during the start of the pandemic, and that's continued into 2021. So this is the main inventory of the Eastern Pima County community. The bar graph shows both the total greenhouse gas emissions for the inventory period 2016 to 2021. And then you'll see the stationary energy emissions are decreasing by 30% over the inventory period. They went from slightly over 8 million metric tons in 2016 annually to under 5.7 million by 2021. And that large decrease in emissions occurred despite a reduction of electricity consumption of less than 1% over that inventory period. So stationary energy emissions made up 56% of the total emissions in 2016, and that dropped to 47% in 2021. Inversely, the transportation emissions made up 35% of the total emissions in 2016 and increased to 43% in 2021. So that 8% increase in proportion of the total emissions happened with even with the overall transportation emissions increasing only 2% over the inventory period. So then industrial processes cover cement production from the Cal Portland cement plant located near I-10 in Avra Valley. Many of you may be surprised that the intensive use of natural gas for heating in that process contributes to 7% of our regional emissions. The category labeled Other covers the Central Arizona Project, and that contributes 2% of the overall emissions. So pumping that Colorado River water from Lake Havasu over 300 miles to Tucson goes uphill over nearly 3,000 feet of elevation. So that can take a considerable amount of electricity. But fortunately, the emission factor for carbon dioxide equivalents of that CAP electricity dropped from 1,615 pounds per megawatt in 2016, down 52% to 779 pounds in 2021. And that followed the closure and discontinuation of power sourcing from the coal-fired Navajo generating station in 2019. So waste emissions remained relatively steady over the inventory period, besides a blip in emissions attributed to Los Reales in 2016 and measured around 1% of the total emissions in 2021. And we added energy transport and natural gas that began just in 2020 at a Kinder Morgan facility and makes up well less than 1% of the emissions. So moving on, this is the results for the City of Tucson community. So stationary energy was also the largest contributor to the City of Tucson community inventory at 56%. You see there in 2021. That's down from 65% of the total in 2016. The 2021 emissions were about 2.9 million metric tons, down 37% compared to 4.7 million in 2016. The transportation emissions made up 43% in 2021, up from 31% in 2016. So this is similar to the county community inventory. The 12% increase in proportion of total emissions occurred despite only a bit over 1% increase in transportation emissions over the inventory period. I see CAP that made up 1% of inventory in 2021, down from 2% in 2016, which was mainly due to that change of electricity sourcing away from the Navajo generating station, since CAP water use only dropped by 12% over this same time frame. And waste made up less than 1% of the emissions in 2021. The city inventory only includes the Los Reales landfill within its boundaries, while the county inventory additionally includes the Tangerine and Marana landfill emissions. Next is the Pima County government. So total emissions dropped 19% over the inventory period from 128,000 metric tons in 2016 to 104,000 in 2021. Stationary energy comprised 72% of Pima County government emissions in 2021, down slightly from 74% in 2016. Employee commuting, fleet, and waste followed at 14%, 9%, and 5% in 2021, with fleet decreasing by 14% over the inventory period, and employee commuting and waste both dropping by 10%. The slight increase year over year in 2020 that you see there was attributed to increased electricity use for wastewater processing. So that may have been pandemic related to people staying at home. And last, the City of Tucson government results. Their total emissions decreased by 25% over the inventory period from 216,000 metric tons in 2016 down to 162,000 in 2021. Stationary energy again made up 73% of total emissions in 2021, decreasing from 82% in 2016. Over the inventory period, the annual stationary energy emissions dropped by 33%. Fleet, employee commuting, and waste made up 17%, 6%, and 4% of the city government emissions in 2021. Fleet emissions increased by 17% over the inventory period. Waste increased by 33%, and employee commuting emissions decreased by 20%. Crystal, I'm trying to advance the slide to the last one. It's not forward progressing.
Give us just 1 second. It looks like she dropped internet. I'll pull up the presentation here in a moment.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question while we're waiting for that to come up? Is it possible that you could tell me what stationary energy is? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, stationary energy is energy that's produced by the power plants. So electricity generation that can be done by coal, natural gas, or renewables. And then stationary energy is also the natural gas that we receive into our homes for heating and cooling spaces. So basically the energy provided by utility companies, if that makes sense. It's called stationary because it's generally just in place. Does that help?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, great. Okay, we're back to it. Let's take it home. So the key takeaways from this inventory, the stationary energy is the major greenhouse gas contributor to all the inventories. However, the transportation greenhouse gas emissions are becoming a larger contributor as the stationary energy emissions go down. The vast majority of greenhouse gas emission reductions over the inventory period are attributable to lower carbon intensive electricity production. So the overall emissions during the inventory for the county dropped by county community dropped by 16%, and nearly all of that is attributed to the electricity production being less carbon intensive. So greenhouse gas emissions from natural gas combustion for stationary energy remain constant. So that goes to that question. That's the natural gas received for space and water heating. So what that essentially means is that while those emission factors for electricity from TEP and CEP dropped by 33% and 52% over the inventory period, the emission factor for burning a therm of natural gas does not change, much like burning a gallon of gasoline. A therm of natural gas combusted is going to release around 12 pounds of carbon dioxide equivalents. So there's small efficiencies that could be gained by upgrading natural gas fuel burning appliances, such as an 80% efficient furnace up to 98%. And lastly, opportunity exists to drastically lower future regional greenhouse gas emissions through increased electrification of transportation and stationary energy sectors. So if you read the summary of the report, which is on page 47, or it looks like page 61 in your meeting packet for today, you'll see that with the transportation sector nearing half of our regional emissions, there's some links to EPA studies that show passenger electric vehicles emit half to 2/3 less greenhouse gas emissions compared to gas vehicles. And in the presentation on the buses, that's different than passenger vehicles. They're a little bit larger, but one of the graphics showed also in the future, those emissions go down as the grid gets cleaner. So additionally, in terms of the stationary energy sector, there's a link to studies demonstrating electrification of water and space heating gas appliances. Changing that to electricity can result in 70 to 80% reduction in emissions. So the opportune element of electrification has been demonstrated to be that reduced carbon impact over time with the modern increases in renewable energy sources. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. I'll be happy to take questions.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Kimberly, you had a question or a comment?
So I have several questions. One of them you answered, Dustin, in the summary. I was just curious why like a quarter drop in the per capita emissions. Like I haven't changed very much how I conduct my, personal life to make me think that I had cut down, but it's the greening of the grid essentially that is contributing to that reduction in per capita emissions, correct?
Yeah, that's right, Kimberly. Like I said, the emissions reduced by 16% over the inventory period, and the reduction from the lower intensive electricity production was greater than the 16%. They were offset by some gains elsewhere. So pretty much, you might not be doing anything. Everyone might not be doing anything different, but the electricity we use, like I showed, TEP down 1/3, and the CAP just switching from coal-fired to market sources down by half. So yeah, and things like the cities has gone down too, in the counties, because they've been adding in their own solar resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I do have solar and I do drive a hybrid, but that's besides the point. But the other question I have is an inconsistency I see in the 2% electricity from CAP water imports. It just seems so so different than other numbers I've seen, like water movement in Arizona accounting for like 40% of electricity use across the state. So this is just for electricity used within Pima County boundaries to move the water that has already taken up a lot of electricity to get to the county boundary?
No, that's the electricity to get it from Lake Havasu to Tucson. So I don't know where your 40% of state electricity statistics coming from, but that would have to be verified by looking at the megawatt hours of electricity used by CAP and the megawatt hours used by the state.
Okay, I'm gonna try to track some information down and share with you. But okay, thank you.
Sure.
Charles?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Dustin? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Hey, very good presentation. I really enjoyed that. You mentioned a facility I've not heard of before, Kinder Morgan. What does that facility do here in the Tucson region?
It's basically it's El Paso natural gas. It's the main pipeline that cuts through the county, and it's a compressor station, and they burn the natural gas to add pressure at that point. It's off of I think Ajo Highway.
Okay.
Somewhere. Yeah.
That's all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, we just add that in because it's not accounted for. It's not stationary gas from like Southwest Gas being fed in. They're just using it right out of that pipeline and burning it.
Okay.
Howard, did you have another question? Keep your hand up. No. What about Kimberly? Did you have another question?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I'll lower my hand.
Okay. And Lynn?
Hi.
Hi.
You're on mute again.
Okay, there I am. I'm still not clear on what stationary energy refers to. Is it the amount that is being consumed by, for instance, the city of Tucson as it's being produced by TEP and the gas companies, or is it the amount that they produce? Can you clarify that again? I'm still not clear on that.
Yeah, Lynn, it's the amount that we're consuming. So in the report, you can see stationary energy in the tables is broken out into residential, commercial, and industrial use. So they have residential customers, and this is for TEP and Southwest Gas. So it's the electricity we're consuming in our buildings and the natural gas we're burning in our buildings. And so it's not all the electricity that TEP is producing, just what's being consumed within Eastern Pima County, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's basically air conditioning, heating, basic maintenance of buildings.
Yeah, think of it as we're using natural gas to make heat for industrial processes, heating water, heating air. We're using electricity to power everything else.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, I don't see any other hands. So this is an action item, and we are being asked to approve the regional greenhouse gas emissions inventory. It was included in your meeting packet. Hopefully you all had a chance to review it. So do we have a motion to approve the 2021 greenhouse gas emissions inventory?
So moved.
And a second?
I second.
Thank you, Paula. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Who is that? Okay.
That was a late aye for approving, sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Okay, I'm gonna assume there's no opposed, so we will go ahead and approve the regional greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And I just want to extend a thank you to Dustin and PAG for completing this inventory. Since the Pima County will be moving forward with climate pollution reduction work, this inventory is going to come in very handy to us. So we're going to be putting it to use now and hopefully making some goals and getting those numbers down over the course of the next several years. So thank you all.
Thank
All
you.
right.
We hope it's a good resource.
Yes, I think it will be. All right, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item number 6, which is the Western Environmental Science Technical Assistance Center for Environmental Justice. We're going to have Dr. Nathan Lothrop is the Associate Director of the West Environmental Justice Center and an Assistant Research Professor in the University of Arizona Melanine Zuckerman College of Public Health. Nathan has expertise in air pollution epidemiology, GIS and spatial analysis, social determinants of health, heavy metals exposure, research results reporting, and science communication, and is passionate about improving public health through responsible team-based environmental health research and service. All right, we're looking forward to hearing from you, Nathan. Take it away.
Okay, thanks so much. Can everyone hear me all right? Just let me know.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Wonderful. So thank you again for having me at your meeting. So today I'll talk to you about what I'll just go by as the West Environmental Justice Center, or West EJ Center, without this colossal acronym being explained every single time. And so we are an EPA and DOE funded environmental justice thriving communities technical assistance center. So TICTAC for short. So I'll be saying TICTAC quite a bit. So just FYI. And there we go. So just to give a big picture overview. So with the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, there became available this colossal amount of federal funding for a number of different projects. And so one of those was, or rather out of this came what the White House dubbed the Thriving Communities Network. And so currently there are these cabinet level members, and I think Health and Human Services just joined, but they have not updated their little graphic yet. And the idea with this was to take what they call a whole of government approach. So the departments working together to tackle some of these bigger issues, such as environmental justice or energy justice or climate justice. And so out of this, DOE and EPA came together to put together these environmental justice TICTACs. And so when I'm talking about TICTACs, I'm talking about technical assistance centers. And so these in this program are spread out across the country, offering free hands-on technical assistance or help, and in addition to training, support, so on and so forth, to tackle environmental or energy justice issues or challenges. And so there are currently, I believe, 17 regional TICTACs. You can see the little red stars here, and 3 national TICTACs, the purple dots. So we are in Region 9. This is EPA Region 9, of course. And so we do have a sister TICTAC out of San Diego State University. So we're both responsible for the entire region. So we'll work together on that. And then the national TICTACs, there are 3 of them. And they're responsible across the country, and they are kind of topic based, I would say. So the one I think we're working most closely with right now is the National Indian Health Board, because of the large number of Native nations and communities in Region 9. And so just an FYI, so our region spans actually 8 time zones. So we're crossing the international date line. So it's a huge geographic area. And I think accounts for 1/4 of the population of this country, something like that. So jumping into our TICTAC, the West EJ Center. So we decided to build our center around a hub and spoke model, or this kind of looks like an atom to me, but so with this center being based at the University of Arizona and in the College of Public Health, and we're essentially building on the expertise with a number of other organizations or centers already in the College of Public Health. So the Indigenous Resilience Center, the Public Health Training Center, Southwest Environmental Health Sciences Center. In addition, we have the Sonora Environmental Research Institute, or SERI here, led by Anne-Marie Wolf. And so we're all at the hub, or the center of the atom, providing a lot of logistical support. And so outside of that, because this is such a colossal geographic range, we need essentially local expertise, boots on the ground. So that's where our partners in green come in. So we have University of Southern California in Southern California, Public Health Institute in Northern California, the Larson Institute in Nevada, Hi-Fi in Hawaii, which also covers the the US affiliate Pacific Islands. And then we also have the Environmental Protection Network, which is a decentralized network made up of the EPA alums doing similar sort of technical assistance work, but they've been doing this for longer than we have been around. So it's a really large team, a lot of partners, but that's on purpose. And so we can make sure that we are serving the regions appropriately and how they want to be served. Oh, sorry about that little animation. So here are currently, this is our menu of free services. So a lot of what we've heard about right now is, people asking for grants and funding help. So online trainings about common grant questions or tasks that people need to complete. Everything from as simple as, if you want to put in for a federal grant, you need a sam.gov user account. How do you get that? To actually managing the grant and reporting requirements. We're in the process of building a funding database that will be searchable so people can match up with what they want to be matched with. And then we'll also really have hands-on help for applying and managing funding, which is the main ask that we've gotten to this point. The caveat being we cannot write the grant for you, but we can help make sure that all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, so on and so forth, when you submit, or as you're managing things and along the line. Then in the center, we have a lot of community involvement or capacity building tools. So we're putting on community resource fairs, one in each state or area per year throughout the life of the center, which is 5 years. We'll be leaning on our local partners to identify community champions who will essentially gain leadership skills through an online training system that'll be cohort based. And then we'll have each year about 20 student interns who will go through a similar advocacy and skills building program. And then in terms of technical assistance, we'll have hands-on consultations. So if a community is interested in how to set up a bunch of purple layers, for example, we can help them with that. Or if they're interested in interpreting water sampling results, something along those lines. We'll also be doing some research into energy justice opportunities, but also looking at how energy, green energy regulation changes by locality, by state, city, whatever, across the region, because there are colossal differences between Arizona and California, and Nevada and Hawaii. We'll also have statistical consultation on hand, and we'll be able to do local EJ, or environmental justice analyses. If you have something that you do not see, please ask me. We are sort of in this soft launch phase where if anyone has any questions, requests, or anything, that's what we want to hear about right now. So essentially, who is eligible? It's almost easier to list who is not eligible, but these are the entities we know who are explicitly. The one that we believe is explicitly not is if you're from for instance, a large private company, then we probably won't be able to help you. But otherwise, there are quite a few organizations that we'll be able to help out with. We do want to make sure that we are prioritizing certain communities. They're listed here. And what doesn't mean these are our only clients or participants. These are who we'll focus on. So And that's it. I know it's much shorter than everyone else, but I'm hoping people have questions. So thank you.
Can you go back to the last slide, Nathan? I just have one thing I wanted to add.
Yeah.
So with respect to the disadvantaged communities, we are being asked to use the climate and economic justice screening tool. And those data have been loaded into PEMA Maps, which is available for public use. You can just search PEMA Maps on Google. And so when you look at layers of data, GIS layers of data, you could actually include the disadvantaged communities per this tool. It's called, I think the layers are called Justice 40 or environmental justice layers. And so that can help for decision makers, especially if you're applying for grants. So just to make sure everybody's aware of that. Charles, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, Nathan, very good. I come out of the University of Illinois system, including the U of I Public Health, School of Public Health. And I'm glad to learn about you because my small business has worked with technical assistance centers in Chicago area, and I've not been finding that level of support here in Southern Arizona. I kind of sniffed around, so it's very good to hear about your particular group. And for people that aren't familiar, our small company, for example, our website design was done with student interns from University of Illinois in Urbana and overseen by faculty. We've had people participate in small business innovation research grant assistance in helping us to write and submit. So it's a very powerful thing. And I'm really glad to know you guys are here because I did look and I didn't see anything. This is I take it a new center, a new effort.
Yeah, so very new. So the center was officially funded in June. I started in July. We don't even have all our staff yet. So we're very much in a soft launch phase, but we wanted to start to get the word out and see if there are, people like yourself, Charles, that might be interested in helping out, or at least know what you might be interested in.
Nathan, what's your email or communication?
So I'll actually give you this one. So this email, you can pull this down, or you can use my last name.
Nathan Lothrop.
I don't see the chat option actually on my
screen.
No,
I don't see it.
So
we'll dig it up. Are you in the U of A directory?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I teach some classes over there, so I can dig you up.
Yep. No, it'd be great to chat with you.
Does that
Excellent.
West EJ-Center email go to you, Nathan?
That will go to me right now because
Okay.
we don't just have, no one else is monitoring it but me. So,
Okay. So that'll work. You can do that.
Functionally, West EJ-Center probably just goes to you, huh?
Yeah.
It will go to me.
We can start a conversation that way. It's very powerful. It's very good for the students, I might add. Prasad and I, my business partner, we do work with students for capstone projects. We have funded research at a number of universities, including University of Arizona. And these programs are just excellent for getting some real world work experience for our students in an internship mode. So if anybody's got a technical, website issue or a scientific issue, talk to them. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. David.
Hi, thanks. It's exciting that this is something that's becoming available. I guess I have two questions, one of which I think I probably know the answer to. The one I don't know the answer to is there any research support that might be possible? One of the things that I'm starting to look into here is what's being called green gentrification and green displacement. So as communities who are historically impacted by environmental injustice and now climate injustice, as they start to receive funds for greening of neighborhoods in all sorts of ways, one of the things that folks are seeing is that can increase property values and rents and lead to the displacement of the very people who the programs are meant to help. And I'm just wondering if there is any potential for research assistance.
I would say possibly. We'd want to talk more about it. So yeah, I would love to, have a chat with you and we can see what we can do and take it from there.
Great. And the other question, which I think I know the answer to, is anyone involved in the creation of this speaking with the administration about the environmental justice implications of fast tracking mines in the way that things like power lines are being fast tracked and transportation? Because applying the fast track system, the Fast 41, to mines does not seem to be something that is perhaps as uncontroversial as doing it with transportation, with transmission. And I ask because we're involved in fighting the mine that got the first fast tracking of it, and there are real questions about them poisoning the water supply and various other things. So is there any feedback to the administration, or is it mainly, hey, go off and do this good stuff, but don't talk to us about how we might be making it worse?
So I think that so that conversation would be many levels above me. But what I'll say is that so far, the people sort of at the top who are in charge of managing a lot of the money that are coming out of the IRA and the BIL and all of this colossal amount of funding, they seem to be, I will say, somewhat receptive, or they're at least okay with being yelled at in a room because that I was on something and that happened. But, I think that they want to listen. Beyond that, I don't know what can be done, to be honest, but our center is there. So, when people bring up issues about a fast track mine in their backyard, then that's where we can talk with them and see how we can help, if we can help, so on and so forth. Ideally, we would want to catch it before it would happen, but that may not be the case here.
Yeah, because there's even last thing I'll say, just the announcement that the Biden administration is waiving all the environmental laws and these sort of moves where just EJ concerns are thrown out. I have to say personally, I'm very disheartened, even on the political level, to see a lot of hardening of, I even say opposition now to the administration. At the very same time as it's doing some great stuff, there are folks in a very closely contested state, such as Arizona, who are feeling like environmental justice and related concerns, conservation concerns, are actually not being supported by the administration. So.
David, I have a recommendation for you. The EPA or the white, it's actually comes from the executive branch, I believe, but they have an Environmental Justice Advisory Council that meets pretty regularly. You can attend those meetings, and you can also submit requests to comment and provide comment.
Thank you, Natalie. I will.
The best way to get the information directly to.
Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jeanette.
Hi, Natalie. Hi, committee. Thank you for presenting, Nathan. That was really informative. And I know here at PAG, we're looking forward to working with you as you guys ramp up. So I just wanted to let everyone know, Charles specific, that we will make these presentations available to everybody and post them on the website. So you'll have access and be able to reference back everyone's contact information. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Mead?
Hi, I have a question and also a couple more things to share on the related topic. So like Natalie, with the Pima County site having the CE Just data. On the PAG climate resilience interactive maps, we have the EJ screen data available, which is required for certain grant applications. These are all federal data sources, but we all work in different areas of environmental planning. So some different data sources have been created for different programs. And also on our transportation interactive maps, some of them include the US DOT equitable transportation community data. So we're catching up with how to do these things. And my question for Nathan was, are you able to help local jurisdictions, local governments with your program, or have heard any interest so far?
So I think the short answer is yes, probably. We're kind of in the phase where, when we have someone come to us and we're not 100% sure, we always ask EPA, but that seems, I would say almost surely yes. We haven't had anyone come to us with urgent requests. We've met with various county organizations in the city in separate meetings, as well as actually, sorry, that's all we've met with right now who are local. But yeah, so feel free to reach out and we can start a conversation.
Great, it sounds like a great resource.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mead, might I recommend that maybe PAG could maybe disseminate the information to the other jurisdictions, because I do know that South Tucson has reached out to me and is applying for various environmental justice grants, and I imagine they could use a little assistance. So if they're not attending this meeting, they would know about it. So if there's a way to get the word out through PAG to the other jurisdictions, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Great. And Kevin.
Hi. So I actually have a newsletter for specifically water conservation grants, but I've had an interest of adding environmental justice with the focus of water conservation. And so I have a newsletter, and I'm very interested in spreading any knowledge about grants and funding opportunities through it, especially in terms of environmental justice.
Okay, great. So Kevin, maybe, I don't know if you mind sharing your contact information, or you can contact me directly, and then we can talk through that and what that might look like.
Yeah, absolutely. My email is klane@azwater.gov.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
I'll
so
be in
much.
touch.
Great. Let's see. And Mead, let's Howard. Sorry, you're not popping to the top for me. Got your hand up again. Everybody else is but you. I'm not sure what's going on there. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? This is Howard Myers.
Yes.
Nathan, I believe you noted earlier that there was either a group or entity that you or your group would not be able to help. Can you please reiterate that and state and provide me with why you believe you would not be able to help that entity or that group?
Yeah, so so far the only group that we, or type of client or participant, are essentially private businesses that are not disadvantaged by that earlier definition. So the reason why is essentially, so in this particular example, the company that approached us can easily afford environmental health consultants. So it wouldn't be, they definitely would not fall into one of our priority categories. And that was the main decision at that point, but we did work with them. And I think we found a solution where instead of them coming to us directly, they will work with essentially a community group doing the same ask that they had, environmental health concerns and environmental justice concerns. So we couldn't help them directly, but indirectly they should get the same result.
And forgive me for having to ask this second question, but and it's probably the rules relative to nonprofit organizations. But I see here again on your list that, quote, nonprofit organizations are eligible. Therefore, does that mean that those who are in business for profit are not eligible?
No, no. So this is a gray area that we have asked EPA for guidance on, and they're working on it. So the third bullet from the bottom is disadvantaged businesses, and we asked them what this meant. We would assume that's a private business. So the short answer is not necessarily, but at the moment, I think we would take this on a case-by-case basis, and I'd be happy to talk with you or anyone else who might have interest, but it's a little bit of a gray area for us, unfortunately, at the moment.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Mead, I'm assuming your hand is up from before. If not, chime in now.
That's right.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, this is a fantastic opportunity, and congratulations to the University of Arizona for receiving this funding. And this is really great presentation. We're happy you brought it to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to go to agenda item number 7, the EPAC Top Environmental Issues List for 2024, and that is going to be presented by Hannah Oden.
All right, thank you, Chair Shep. Okay, looks like I have control of the slide. So hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Oden. I'm a planning coordinator with PAG, and today I'm just going to go over the EPAC Top Environmental Issues List for this coming year, which would be 2024. So the top environmental issues list, this is just an overview. It's developed annually by EPAC in coordination with PAG staff. It informs upper management and regional council on environmental priorities in our region, and also helps inform decision making. Also an important component of the issues list is that it's used to identify meeting topics for EPAC meetings throughout the year. So a lot of the presentations you'll see either from members or folks from the outside that are presented are derived from that issues list. So the current environmental issues list for 2023 was approved in December last year. Again, it's approved annually in December by EPAC. So the full document was included in the meeting materials. So maybe you've had a chance to look through that, but this is just an abbreviated version with just the meeting topic or just the issues list topics on this slide. So, so far this year, from that issues list for presentations and meeting topics for EPAC, we've covered clean air, clean water, solid waste reduction, invasive species management, resilient infrastructure, climate variability, and environmental justice. So we still have one more meeting this year in December. So anything that we haven't touched on, this issues list will help inform that, so we can hit any additional topics at the December meeting. So we are currently in the very beginning stages in the process to develop the top environmental issues list for 2024. So kind of how it will work is first we want to gather initial comments and ideas from EPAC members and subcommittee members by October 20th. So that's just in a couple weeks. So you'll have the that full issues list was included in the packet, but also be sending a formal email with information to solicit formal comments and feedback with that issues list attached from 2023. So after we receive those comments, PAG staff will create a preliminary draft. We'll update the previous issues list from 2023 for the new issues list. And we'll send a preliminary draft of this list to EPAC members in early November. And this also includes subcommittee members, so the Watershed Planning Subcommittee and Air Quality Planning Subcommittee. We'll also receive feedback and edit the draft as needed based on those feedback and comments that we received. So we do anticipate an action item at the December EPAC meeting to finalize the issues list for 2024. This will be in the form of recommendation to the PAG Executive Director and also be passed on to Management Committee and Regional Council for consideration. So we can certainly have some discussion today if there's any burning issues that you can think of or any updates just off the top of your head that you can think of for this issues list. Just thinking ahead to the coming year, we are working on updating or creating a new regional transportation, long-range transportation plan. So that's our regional mobility and accessibility plan. So that's in the works. So there might be something transportation related that could be updated or added to the list. Any other big environmental issues that you can think of for this coming year. And we can, of course, adjust the language to the issues list just based on the feedback. All right, and with that, I'm happy to take any questions or if there's any discussion, folks have any discussion they want to have, we can have that as well.
Anybody have anything they'd like to add to this or any discussion? Charles?
Yeah, thank you. Hannah, that was great. Do we write these up and submit them like we've done in the past? I don't remember seeing the mechanism to submit our specific recommendations.
Sure, yeah, so those can be, so I'll send an email soliciting comments and feedback, and those recommendations can be just sent back to me. Ideally, if you can have them to me by October 20th, then again, we'll start working on a draft, which then will then be sent out early next month for review prior to the December meeting.
Thank you.
Jessica?
Hi, forgive me, I'm just joining. This is only my first meeting of the year and it seems like it's second to the last, so I apologize. But water reliability, was that already presented? Or is that for upcoming December? And then who is your presenter?
So for that would be something that we would try and hit in December.
It is. So
As a topic,
you haven't
yes.
identified an individual?
Not at this time.
That presentation. The reason I ask is I work for Tucson Water and I wanted to know where we're going with that. So in addition to that, I'm sure that you said you were going to send out an email regarding priorities for 2024. And I did want to get an opportunity to make sure that water reliability and clean water continue to remain on those priority lists.
We did have a presentation from Jamie Galeta on the One Water plan.
You did? Okay,
yeah.
Great. All right, thank you so much.
David?
Just wanted to double check if wildlife corridors have been added. I didn't, there was part of a thread and I just wasn't sure if it's already on or if I need to suggest it here.
Yeah, so for that, sorry, I'm just going through here. Yeah, we could definitely, add that. That could be something that could be considered to be adding more clearly into the issues list.
Thanks very much.
Christina?
Hi, yes, so connectivity in general would be a good way to term it, Hannah, for the corridor issue. There was a conference held in May by the Department of Interior, all of the tribal fish and wildlife associations, and the Pew Charitable Trust in Tucson. And so we could definitely do, there is videos of all of those presentations, but we could certainly have a topic for coverage in that area. Maybe invite Matt Scraw from Pew, who was one of the organizers, to present on that and some of the things that are going on around the West, which is, his area of expertise. Also, I think the in-channel recharge in particular is something that we could revisit. It's a little more narrow than just water resilience, but it has changed the way that we can do business in southern Arizona, well, in the state of Arizona, in terms of instead of putting water in a basin with a fence around it, we can actually put water into the environment for all kinds of ecosystem services, as well as get credit for that recharge. Jessica knows what I'm talking about. And so maybe a presentation on the Heritage Project and the benefits of in-channel recharge would be another topic that would be useful.
Great idea.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have any further discussion on this item? Gonna scroll down. Doesn't look like I see any other hands. So thank you so much, Hannah. We will look forward to reviewing your email when we get it and having that as a action item at our next meeting in December. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 8, future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add to future agendas? Chris?
Yes, I'm going to once again ask for a presentation by Dr. Laura Norman from the USGS. And the reason I'm going to ask for that is that if you go to her website, you will see that she's working with ranches, she's working with industry, she's working with the city, she's working with other entities on water quality and watershed health and in-channel recharge projects that can be done on a economy of scale in a given watershed. One example would be perhaps the Tucson Mountain Park, Saguaro National Park West. That's an opportunity where the county and the city could combine benefits and resources to do a pilot project. But she also did the paired watershed study of Turkey Creek in the Chiricahuas, which was a treated watershed from the 1980s, compared to untreated watersheds. And in Turkey Creek, perennial flowing water has been restored. So these are some exciting, very low tech, very low cost methodologies that are beneficial to the environment and that are low maintenance. And so there's the sort of thing I think that we probably will be pivoting more and more to based on just a cost assessment, if nothing else, and all the benefits. So I'd really like to see that happen sometime. Thanks.
Thank you. Mead?
This follows up on what Chris was saying, actually. So last year, PAG put efforts into helping to put on the Santa Cruz Watershed Collaborative Forum in the spring. And this year, there's one again in the fall. And we send that out to EPAC and WPS members to participate. And we did get Laura Norman to present at that, as well as your other requested topic of stormwater recharge. Neha Gupta was suggested, but she was not finished with her study yet. So we got Eleonora Demaria at Flood Control District to present that. So I think I'm hearing that it would be more useful to bring it directly to this group because not everyone can participate in an all-day forum. And we could look into also bringing this to the Watershed Planning Subcommittee. We're thinking of doing a joint meeting if feasible. But since there's so many water topics, maybe we'll do a watershed meeting and an EPAC meeting separately.
I would love to do both. I'm very excited to hear this, Mead, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are very great topics. They also follow up on the basin study that many EPAC members were part of, and that stormwater recharge was one of the top return on investment recommendations. Also, the fall forum, which is December 7th. Hopefully that doesn't conflict with EPAC. I think it's a Thursday. But that one will be in Green Valley. I'm looking at some in-stream recharge. So it'll be on the ground site visits there. We're also considering bringing you PAG's own Cienega monitoring update. great long-term monitoring that represents how the local areas are doing with drought. So rather than using like a CAP signal, it's the local signal for drought in the environment. And considering the idea of maybe quantified ventures would present, they're investigating alternative ways of financing water conservation. So they're looking to partner with local jurisdictions to bring opportunities locally. And then finally, there's some topics we're bringing to the Stormwater Working Group separately. There's a doodle out for those involved. And if you're interested, just let me or Melanie know. Melanie is planning a discussion on collaborative regional stormwater outreach to keep that campaign alive. And I think we'll hear from the Pekin County survey of public awareness of that campaign. And the numbers have been going down, so we're really trying to ramp up again. And then finally, the regional data working group. Normally it's just the GIS personnel who participate in that group, but we would like additional expertise at the next meeting. We'll be sending out a date for that soon. It's to be determined, but we'll be presenting about some of the data PAG collects and want to figure out how to best define our next scopes of works to make it more useful to planners. So we'll have SunCloud presenting about their portal of data that has some environmental justice components even, but a lot of transportation safety issues on there. A demo of open topography portal that we've invested in, and pilot data on feature extraction from orthophotography. So that's this way of delineating, the pilot delineated where there are medians with vegetation, or where there are sidewalks, or where there are bike lanes of certain widths. So we're trying to talk with different planners about how to go about it when we get a larger data set. So please contact me if you would like to stay tuned. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mead. I don't see any other hands. I do have another item that I want to bring up. I would like to, in the next meeting, discuss the vacancies that are on this committee. If you review the bylaws of the committee, there are representatives from all the different jurisdictions, as well as community organizations. And recently there has been a transition in one of the representatives of the community organizations, which was Creo Engineering. And if you look at the bylaws, it does say that if a particular interest group is no longer able to represent an interest group category, the EPAC chair will solicit nominations to fill the vacancy for EPAC. PAG staff will present the qualifications of the new interest group to EPAC and may form a task force to review the qualifications of the replacement organization. Following EPAC's endorsement, PAG staff will solicit endorsement from the PAG executive director. We do have an alternative that we have found for that particular group. And we did want it to go to the EPAC committee for approval, but it went to the executive director first, and it didn't make it to the agenda. So that's concerning to me, since that seems to be a violation of the bylaws. And so I want to review that, make sure that we understand the process, and as well as look at the vacancies that exist on this list. We do have a number of citizen representative vacancies that we need to fill. So that is a topic I would like to address at the next meeting.
Thank you, Natalie. That's really important.
I think so too. All right. Hannah, did you have a follow-up? Or me?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Shep. So not a follow-up to that specifically, but I did want to share just on behalf of Roxanne Lindsay with the Department of Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. There's a $1 million recycling grant that's available. So topics can cover wastewater management, education, research. Private, nonprofit, and public entities may apply, and applications are due on December 1st. So just wanted to, she asked that she couldn't be here today. She wanted that to be shared as more of a general announcement.
Great, thank you. All right, Mead, anything else? Your hand's still up, or was that from before?
Mine doesn't show my hand up, so I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
All right, well, I'm going to assume that we have discussed everything that everybody would like to see in the future agenda items. So I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do this.
Aye.
All right. We're going to go ahead and adjourn at 11:11, and we will see you on the first Friday in December for the next EPAC meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.